You did what to our trading partners? Admiral Thompson's voice carried the kind of deadly calm that made even veteran spacers flinch. The holographic projection of the Vexthari diplomat flickered nervously, its crystalline appendages chiming in distress. We merely conducted standard resource acquisition procedures, the diplomat responded, mandibles clicking. The Zaraki holdings were unclaimed according to Galactic Council Regulations Section 47.3. Unclaimed? Thompson interrupted, leaning forward. They've been our partners for 3 solar cycles. We have 17 active trade agreements, 2 cultural exchange programs, and their representative just won the annual Terra Zaraki cooking competition, with a fascinating fusion dish involving maple syrup and crystallized plasma. The Vexthari's translucent skin clouded, a sure sign of discomfort. The Zaraki are a pre-FTL species, by council law. By council law, they're under human protection, Captain Rivera cut in, stepping beside the Admiral. Her dark eyes glinted dangerously. A fact your resource acquisition fleet would have discovered if they'd bothered to check the registered protection notices before launching their little raid. The diplomatic chamber fell silent save for the soft hum of quantum processors and the increasingly agitated chiming of the Vexthari's crystals. The alien ambassador drew itself up to its full height, nearly brushing the ceiling projectors. The Terran Confederacy has no authority to— Let me stop you right there, Thompson said, holding up a hand. Because this is where things get interesting. Lieutenant Kumar, please share the footage from the Zaraki orbital defense grid. The holographic display split, showing crystal-clear images of Vexthari harvester ships attempting to land on the Zaraki homeworld. Attempting being the operative word, as each vessel found itself confronted by sleek human interceptors that seemed to materialize from nowhere. Fascinating technology, isn't it? Rivera commented, casually examining her uniform cuff. Quantum displacement drives. Makes our ships virtually undetectable until we want to be seen. The Zaraki helped develop the stealth systems, actually. They're brilliant theoretical physicists. The Vexthari diplomat's crystals had stopped chiming entirely. Never a good sign. This is an act of aggression against a council race. You'll what? Thompson asked mildly. Report us to the council? Please do. I'm sure they'll be fascinated to learn how you violated 17 separate treaties, ignored clear protection notices, and attempted to raid a developing civilization that's produced 3 Nobel-equivalent prizes in the last cycle alone. The Zaraki are primitive. They haven't even achieved faster-than-light travel, the diplomat protested. Rivera laughed. It wasn't a pleasant sound. Neither had humans when we first met the Galactic Council. Didn't stop us from reverse engineering captured ships and building our own fleet within a decade. The Zaraki, they're smarter than we were. They just chose to focus on different technologies first. Which brings us to the present situation, Thompson continued. Your harvester fleet is currently surrounded by human warships. Your ground forces, the ones that managed to land, are being rounded up by Zaraki defense units using non-lethal methods they designed. Methods that, I might add, are far more humane than what most species would employ. The holographic display shifted again, showing Vexthari soldiers being systematically disabled by waves of targeted electromagnetic pulses that disrupted their crystalline biology without causing permanent harm. Several were already being treated by Zaraki medical teams, their natural bioluminescence steadily returning. This is what you need to understand, Thompson said, his voice taking on an almost pastoral tone. Humanity doesn't just protect its allies because of treaties or obligations. We protect them because they're our friends. The Zaraki don't think like us, look like us, or even perceive reality quite the same way we do. But they're brilliant, kind, and make absolutely magnificent desserts. The diplomat began again. The Council will do exactly nothing, Rivera interrupted. Because this isn't just about the Zaraki anymore. This is about sending a message to every species that thinks pre-FTL equals easy target. Humanity has friends throughout this galaxy. Strange friends. Unexpected friends. Friends who think in ways that most spacefaring races can't even comprehend. And we protect our friends, Thompson added. The Zaraki could have simply destroyed your ships. Instead, they chose to disable and capture them, and are now treating your injured. That's the kind of people they are. That's why we like them. The Vexthari diplomat's crystalline structure had taken on a distinctly clouded appearance. What are your demands? Thompson smiled. It was the kind of smile that had preceded several notable revisions to Galactic Council policies regarding humanity. Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Captain Rivera? Rivera produced a data crystal. Full reparations to the Zaraki, public apology, and binding agreements to respect all human protectorate territories, including those of pre-FTL species. Plus, you're going to help fund the Zaraki's first official FTL research program. That's extortion, the diplomat sputtered. That's civilization, Thompson corrected. The Zaraki suggested most of these terms, by the way. They're particularly excited about the joint research opportunities, something about comparing crystalline quantum states to their own plasma-based computational models. The diplomat's crystals began chiming again, but in a different pattern, one that human xenologists had classified as resigned acceptance with a touch of existential dread. Oh, and one more thing, Rivera added. The Zaraki's representative insists that your diplomats attend next year's cooking competition. Something about wanting to experiment with crystalline resonance frequencies and molecular gastronomy. Thompson nodded sagely. I'd accept if I were you. Their food really is exceptional. The Vexthari diplomat's holoprojection flickered as it processed this final indignity. We accept these terms. Excellent, Thompson beamed. The Zaraki will be delighted. They've already prepared welcome packages for your cultural exchange officers. I believe they're including samples of their latest maple syrup innovations. The Zaraki will be delighted. They've already prepared welcome packages for your cultural exchange officers. I believe they're including samples of their latest maple syrup innovations. After the diplomat's projection faded, Rivera turned to Thompson. Sir, do you think they actually learned anything from this? Thompson watched as the tactical display showed Vexthari ships being carefully escorted out of Zaraki space by human vessels. They learned that humanity's idea of retaliation isn't just about firepower. It's about forcing people to sit down, talk to each other, and try each other's cooking. Most species find that more terrifying than actual combat, Rivera observed. Exactly. Thompson straightened his uniform. Now, shall we go see what the Zaraki have prepared for dinner? I hear they've been experimenting with combining their plasma infusion techniques with human barbecue methods. Rivera checked her timeline display. The quantum physicists or the biochemists? Both, actually. They're having a friendly competition. Winner gets to host the next interspecies chess tournament. God help us all, Rivera muttered, but she was smiling. You know the biochemists are going to try to make the food solve differential equations while we eat it. And the physicists will make it exist in multiple flavor states simultaneously. Thompson agreed cheerfully. Should be interesting. As they headed to the diplomatic dining hall, Thompson reflected that this was perhaps humanity's greatest contribution to galactic civilization. Not their technology, not their military might, but their absolute insistence that different species could be friends, share meals, and solve problems without anyone getting vaporized. Usually, the fact that they maintained one of the largest and most advanced fleets in known space was, of course, purely coincidental, as was their habit of parking those fleets near their allies' worlds, running joint training exercises, and sharing defensive technologies. Because that's what friends do, and humanity, as the galaxy was learning, took friendship very seriously indeed. The quantum-entangled barbecue sauce is trying to achieve sentience again, announced Dr. Rodriguez, peering into a containment field where a purplish substance was forming complex fractal patterns. The Zaraki physicist, whose name translated roughly to contemplates tasty paradoxes, bobbed in agreement, their plasma-based form rippling with enthusiasm. Fascinating. The sauce appears to be attempting to solve the three-body problem while simultaneously optimizing its flavor profile. They were in the newly established Zaraki Human Culinary Physics Institute, where the lines between theoretical physics, gastronomy, and diplomatic relations had become delightfully blurred. The facility, funded largely by Vexthari reparations, had quickly become the galaxy's premier destination for species interested in the intersection of science and cooking. Admiral Thompson, visiting for his monthly inspection and dinner, watched the proceedings with a carefully neutral expression. Should we be concerned about this? Only if you're not fond of discussing quantum mechanics with your condiments, Rodriguez replied cheerfully. Though I should note that last week's batch of time-displaced marinades did try to predict the stock market. Were they accurate? Surprisingly, yes, but they insisted on being paid in exotic spices from the Andromeda Galaxy. Rodriguez shrugged. We had to discontinue that line of research. The paperwork for intergalactic trade agreements is bad enough without having to justify expense reports to sentient sauce. The Zaraki physicist pulsed with what humans had learned to recognize as laughter. Their species' natural ability to exist as coherent plasma had revolutionized several fields of physics, but they seemed most proud of their contributions to molecular gastronomy. Perhaps we should check on the diplomatic dinner preparations, Thompson suggested, noting that one of the sauce's fractal patterns was starting to resemble a proof of unified field theory. In the main dining hall, the scene was arguably even more chaotic. Vexthari cultural exchange officers, their crystalline forms glinting nervously, watched as Zaraki chefs manipulated globules of plasma-infused ingredients in mid-air. Human culinary experts darted between stations, adding traditional Earth ingredients to the mix. The maple syrup fusion reactor is operating within expected parameters, reported Lieutenant Kumar, consulting her tablet, though the Vexthari representatives are still having trouble understanding why we're using a Class 4 containment field to make breakfast syrup. To be fair, most humans would ask the same question, Thompson noted. Most humans haven't tried Zaraki-enhanced maple syrup on quantum state pancakes, Kumar replied. The experience is enlightening. A mild commotion drew their attention to one of the cooking stations, where a Vexthari diplomat was engaged in what appeared to be an intense discussion with a Zaraki chef about the proper way to harmonize crystalline resonance frequencies with plasma-based flavor matrices. They're adapting well, Rodriguez observed. Much better than expected, given the circumstances that brought them here. Thompson nodded. The mandatory cultural exchange program, initially seen as a punitive measure by the Vexthari, had evolved into something far more interesting. It turned out that the crystalline biology of the Vexthari complemented Zaraki plasma-based technologies in unexpected ways. Several joint research papers had already been published, though the most cited one was titled, "On the Application of Quantum Harmonics in Cross-Species Dessert Engineering." "Admiral," Kumar interrupted his thoughts. "We're receiving a priority communication from Galactic Council headquarters." Thompson sighed. "Let me guess. Another species decided to ignore the protected by humanity notices?" "Actually, sir, they're requesting permission to send observers to the next cooking competition. Apparently, word has spread about the Zaraki-Vexthari collaboration on quantum gastronomy." "The universe is a strange place," Thompson mused, watching as a Vexthari scientist successfully generated a harmonic resonance that made a blob of plasma-infused sauce dance in perfect geometric patterns. A few months ago, these species were on the brink of conflict. Now they're revolutionizing physics through collaborative cooking. "That's humanity's true superpower," Rodriguez said, making notes as the sauce began to generate its own gravity well. "We don't just make allies. We make sure our allies become allies with each other, preferably over dinner." The Zaraki physicist pulsed in agreement, their plasma form briefly taking on the shape of a peace symbol, a human gesture they had adopted with great enthusiasm. "Your species understands that true advancement comes not from conquest, but from combining different perspectives. Though your insistence on adding maple syrup to everything remains puzzling. Wait until you try the quantum-entangled version," Kumar grinned. "It exists in a superposition of all possible sweetness levels until you observe it." Thompson checked his schedule. "Speaking of which, isn't it time for the practical demonstration? The one involving the new FTL communication system?" "Ah, yes," Rodriguez beamed. "The Zaraki and Vexthari teams have developed a method of using crystalline stabilized plasma for instantaneous communication across any distance. The breakthrough came during a discussion about how to keep takeout food hot during delivery." As they headed to the demonstration area, Thompson reflected on how the galaxy had changed since humanity's emergence onto the cosmic stage. Other species had expected them to make their mark through military might or technological innovation. Instead, humans had become known as the species that turned potential conflicts into potluck dinners and weapons research into cooking competitions. The Galactic Council was still trying to decide whether this made humans more or less terrifying. "Sir," Kumar called out, "the Vexthari delegation is requesting permission to include their Crystalline Harmony Choir in next month's cultural exchange concert. They want to attempt a fusion performance with the Zaraki plasma dancers." Thompson smiled. "Permission granted. And make sure we record it. The Council's Xenological Arts Committee will want to see this." Behind them, the quantum barbecue sauce had begun humming what sounded suspiciously like a physics lecture set to jazz. Some days, Thompson thought, the universe was weird enough to make perfect sense. The Galactic Council's main assembly chamber had never witnessed anything quite like this. Representatives from 17 species sat in rapt attention as a Zaraki plasma dancer performed a synchronized routine with a Vexthari crystalline choir, their combined energies generating real-time visualizations of advanced theoretical physics equations. "Are they solving the dark matter problem through interpretive dance?" whispered Ambassador Reeves to Admiral Thompson. "And choral harmonics," Thompson confirmed. "The equations are a byproduct of their artistic collaboration. The Council's science division has been frantically recording everything. The performance reached its crescendo as the Zaraki dancer's plasma form intersected with the crystalline resonance field, creating a momentary display that, according to 3 separate quantum computers, briefly unified quantum mechanics with general relativity. The physicists are going to be analyzing that recording for decades, Rodriguez murmured, her sensors capturing every detail. Though I'm more interested in how they're planning to incorporate this into next week's molecular gastronomy seminar. The applause that followed the performance was interrupted by urgent signals from multiple emergency communications channels. Thompson's neural interface lit up with priority alerts, and the chamber's main holoprojection activated automatically. Well, Thompson sighed, examining the tactical display. It seems word of our successful partnership has attracted some unwanted attention. The images showed a massive fleet approaching Zaraki space, but not from the direction of known civilization. These ships emerged from the darkened regions beyond the galactic arm, where few dared to venture. "The swarm!" gasped one of the council members. "They were supposed to be mythological." "Myths don't usually have that many dreadnoughts," Rivera observed dryly, already coordinating with Earth Command. "Though I have to admire their timing, waiting until right after we proved the effectiveness of Zaraki Vexthari energy harmonics. The swarm vessels, biological mechanical hybrids that seem to absorb light rather than reflect it, moved with unsettling precision. Their message, broadcast on all frequencies, was simple: submit or be consumed." "How derivative," Thompson muttered, then raised his voice to address the chamber. "Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of all configurations, I believe this is what humans call a teaching moment." The Zaraki representative, still glowing from their performance, pulsed with what humans had learned to recognize as anticipation. The Vexthari delegation's crystals chimed in complex patterns that their cultural exchange officers had recently translated as, "Oh, this is going to be good." "Admiral," the council president began, "surely you don't intend to deploy the combined Zaraki Vexthari human defense fleet? The one we've been secretly building while pretending to focus on cooking competitions and physics concerts?" Thompson smiled. "Of course we are." The tactical display updated, showing hundreds of ships decloaking around the approaching swarm fleet. Human vessels, their hulls incorporating Zaraki plasma containment technology and Vexthari crystalline resonance amplifiers. Zaraki ships that seem to be made of living energy, capable of phase shifting through normal space. Vexthari cruisers that could redirect and amplify any energy directed at them. "You see," Thompson addressed the council as the fleets engaged, "while everyone was busy laughing at humans for turning potential conflicts into dinner parties, we were actually doing what we do best, making friends and finding ways to combine our unique abilities." The battle, if it could be called that, was brief and spectacular. The swarm's energy weapons were caught in Vexthari crystalline matrices, redirected through Zaraki plasma conduits, and returned with mathematical precision by human targeting systems. "Did that Zaraki battleship just turn a swarm dreadnought into a quantum-entangled art installation?" Rivera asked, squinting at the display. "I believe they're calling it Victory in 5 Dimensions, Rodriguez replied. "The Vexthari choir is already composing an accompanying harmony." Within hours, the remnants of the swarm fleet were in full retreat, leaving behind several captured vessels for study. The Zaraki were particularly interested in the biological components, while the Vexthari began analyzing the unique crystalline structures in the swarm's quantum cores. "Well," Thompson addressed the stunned council chamber, "I believe we were scheduled for a reception featuring the latest achievements in cross-species cuisine, shall we?" In the council's grand dining hall, as representatives sampled dishes that defied several laws of physics while obeying others, the true impact of the day's events began to sink in. "You planned this," the council president accused Thompson over a plate of quantum-shifted sushi that existed in 3 shifted sush. "The invasion? No. The defense fleet? Absolutely." Thompson sampled a crystalline plasma fusion dessert that hummed in perfect harmony with the universe's background radiation. "Humanity learned long ago that the best way to prevent war is to make the alternatives more interesting." "By interesting, you mean scientifically revolutionary cuisine and physics-defying art performances?" "Among other things." Thompson gestured to where Zaraki and Vexthari scientists were already incorporating analysis of swarm technology into plans for next month's zero-gravity ballet. "We find that species are less likely to fight each other when they're busy creating things together." The council president watched as a Zaraki chef demonstrated a new cooking technique that accidentally proved string theory. "The galaxy will never be the same, will it?" That was rather the point, Thompson agreed. Though I should warn you, the quantum barbecue sauce achieved sentience last week, and it's requesting a seat on the Science Advisory Committee. On what grounds? It solved the black hole information paradox while caramelizing some onions. As the reception continued, news of the battle spread throughout the galaxy. But it wasn't the military victory that caught most species' attention. It was the announcement that followed. An open invitation to the first Galactic Cultural and Culinary Exchange Festival, to be held in joint Zoraki-Vexthari space. The message was clear. The galaxy could either learn to cook together, or it could face the combined might of humanity and its increasingly eccentric allies. Most chose the cooking lessons. Even the swarm, it turned out, had some interesting recipes to share, once they learned to stop trying to consume their dinner partners. The inaugural Galactic Cultural and Culinary Exchange Festival had transformed an entire solar system into what Admiral Thompson privately thought of as the universe's most ambitious dinner party. The Zoraki had converted several gas giants into plasma-based art installations, while the Vexthari had crystallized an asteroid belt into what they called a resonance amplification gallery. The swarm delegation has arrived, Captain Rivera reported, consulting her quantum-linked datapad. They're requesting permission to dock their bioorganic ships at the designated cultural exchange hub. Approved, Thompson nodded. How are they adjusting to the non-consumption protocols? Remarkably well. They've discovered that analyzing genetic codes through their traditional absorption process yields similar satisfaction to actually consuming the specimen. Their scientific papers on xenobiology are becoming quite respected in academic circles. The central station of the festival, a massive structure combining human engineering with Zoraki plasma dynamics and Vexthari crystalline architecture, hummed with activity. Representatives from over 30 species mingled in gravity-controlled environments specifically designed to accommodate their various biological needs. "Admiral," Rodriguez called out, hurrying over with a holographic display. "You need to see this. The quantum barbecue sauce has entered into a philosophical debate with a swarm hive mind about the nature of consciousness." Thompson pinched the bridge of his nose. "Please tell me they're not going to accidentally solve the hard problem of consciousness during a cooking demonstration." "Too late," Rodriguez grinned. "But you'll be pleased to know they've agreed to publish their findings in both scientific journals and cookbooks." In the main exhibition hall, a Zoraki plasma chef was collaborating with a Vexthari crystalline harmonist to create what they called tasteable mathematics. Nearby, a swarm bioengineer was demonstrating how their species' natural absorption abilities could be used to create perfect flavor profiles through genetic analysis. "The Council's Cultural Affairs Committee is having fits," Rivera commented, watching as a group of traditionally antagonistic species discovered shared appreciation for Earth's concept of fusion cuisine. They've never seen this level of voluntary integration between species. "That's because they always focused on formal diplomatic channels," Thompson replied. "Humanity learned long ago that real understanding happens over shared meals and collaborative projects." A minor commotion drew their attention to one of the research pods, where a team of Zoraki physicists had apparently discovered a new fundamental force while attempting to perfect their plasma-infused coffee substitute. "Should we be concerned about that?" Rivera asked, noting the unusual gravitational readings. "Only if you're worried about them revolutionizing our understanding of the universe through beverage development," Rodriguez replied. "Though I should mention that the quantum barbecue sauce is requesting to peer-review their findings." The festival's success had exceeded even humanity's optimistic projections. Species that had been on the brink of war mere months ago were now collaborating on everything from advanced physics to dessert recipes. The swarm, once considered a mythological threat, had become leading experts in xenobiological cuisine and genetic appreciation. "Admiral," a Zoraki representative pulsed urgently, approaching their group. "We require your input on an important matter." "Another breakthrough in quantum gastronomy?" Thompson asked. "No, sir. Well, yes, but that's not the primary concern. We've detected unusual signals from beyond the galactic barrier. They appear to be restaurant reviews." Thompson blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" The Zoraki's plasma form rippled with excitement. "It seems news of our festival has reached other galaxies. We're receiving reservation requests from species we didn't know existed." Rivera checked her tactical displays out of habit. "Are we concerned about this becoming a security issue?" "I believe," Thompson said slowly, "we're about to test our hypothesis on an intergalactic scale." "That shared meals prevent wars?" Rodriguez asked. That, and the fact that it's very difficult to maintain hostile intentions when you're trying to figure out how your neighbor managed to make a dessert that exists in 6 dimensions simultaneously. The festival's success had proven something humanity had long suspected. The galaxy needed fewer peace treaties and more dinner parties. The fact that these dinner parties occasionally resulted in groundbreaking scientific discoveries was just a bonus. As if to prove this point, a cheer erupted from one of the experimental cuisine stations, where a Vexthari Zoraki swarm collaboration had apparently created a dish that could predict its own flavor profile through quantum entanglement. "Should we inform the Council about the intergalactic interest?" Rivera asked. Thompson watched as the quantum barbecue sauce began teaching a group of diverse species about the relationship between flavor consciousness and universal constants. "Let's wait until after they process the fact that we've turned their diplomatic protocols upside down through advanced cooking techniques," he suggested, one paradigm shift at a time. The festival continued to expand, both in scope and theoretical physics violations. Humanity's reputation evolved from surprisingly dangerous primitives to those weird beings who solve galactic conflicts through dinner parties and accidentally advance science in the process. Most species found this new reputation far more terrifying than the old one. After all, you can predict what a warship will do, but nobody can predict what will happen when humans convince different species to collaborate on experimental cuisine. The intergalactic delegation arrived with remarkable precision, their vessels materializing at the exact coordinates provided in their reservation confirmation. Admiral Thompson, watching from the festival's central observation deck, had to admire their attention to protocol. "Initial analysis suggests they're from the Andromeda Galaxy," Rodriguez reported, studying the sensor readings. "Their technology appears to be based on, is this correct, crystallized dark matter?" "The Vexthari scientists are already requesting permission to begin harmonic resonance studies," Rivera added. "And the Zoraki have proposed a joint research initiative into plasma dark matter interactions." The visitor's flagship, a massive construct that seemed to bend space around itself, transmitted its credentials with impeccable diplomatic courtesy. Their message, when translated, was surprisingly straightforward. "We heard you have interesting food." Humanity's greatest diplomatic achievement, Thompson mused, turning the galaxy into a destination dining experience. The reception area had been specially modified to accommodate the new arrivals, whose physical forms seemed to exist partially in dimensions humans couldn't perceive. The Zoraki, ever adaptable, had already adjusted their plasma-based environmental controls to account for the visitors' unique quantum states. "Welcome to the Galactic Cultural and Culinary Exchange Festival," Thompson addressed the delegation's representatives, whose appearances shifted between crystalline structures and plasma forms in a way that made his eyes hurt. "We hope you'll find our humble gathering enlightening." The lead delegate's response was translated through several quantum computers simultaneously. "We have traveled 2.537 million light-years to experience your quantum barbecue sauce. Our civilization's greatest minds are still debating whether your transmitted menu violated our understanding of reality." "Oh, just wait until you try the desserts," Rodriguez smiled. "The Vexthari Zoraki fusion team recently created a creme brulee that temporarily achieved consciousness and solved several outstanding problems in string theory." The festival had expanded to accommodate the intergalactic visitors, with new research stations and dining areas sprouting up across the system. The Swarm, now fully embracing their role as biological analysis experts, had established a cultural exchange program focusing on non-consumptive appreciation of genetic diversity. "Admiral," a Vexthari scientist approached, crystals chiming in excitement. "The Andromedans have shared their dark matter crystallization techniques. When combined with our harmonic resonance and Zoraki plasma dynamics—" "Let me guess," Thompson interrupted gently. "You've accidentally discovered a new form of matter?" "Better." The scientist's crystals practically sparkled. "We've created a new type of fusion cuisine that exists simultaneously in both our galaxy and Andromeda. The quantum entanglement properties alone are revolutionary. But the flavor profile, the implications were staggering. Humanity had set out to protect its allies and promote peaceful cooperation. They had ended up creating an intergalactic culinary research network that was casually rewriting the laws of physics between courses. "Sir," Rivera called out, "the quantum barbecue sauce is requesting a conference with the Andromedan dark matter physicists. Something about exploring the relationship between consciousness, flavor, and the fundamental structure of multiple universes." Thompson watched as representatives from 4 galaxies gathered around a table to sample a dish that, according to 3 separate science teams, shouldn't technically be possible to eat. Do you ever wonder, he asked Rivera, if we've taken this whole diplomatic dining concept a bit too far? At that moment, a cheer erupted from the experimental cuisine section, where a joint team had apparently discovered a way to serve dishes that existed in all possible quantum states, until tasted, allowing each diner to experience their perfect version of the meal. I'd say we haven't taken it nearly far enough, Rivera replied, checking her datapad. The Council's science division is still trying to process the fact that we're advancing physics through fine dining. The Andromedans proved to be excellent additions to the festival, their unique perspective on dark matter leading to several breakthrough collaborations. The quantum barbecue sauce, now serving as a visiting professor at 3 prestigious universities, had begun publishing papers on what it called gastronomic quantum mechanics. Humanity's great contribution to the universe, Thompson reflected, watching species from multiple galaxies share meals that defied physics. Wasn't our technology or our military might. It was convincing everyone to sit down and eat together. That and our disturbing ability to accidentally advance science through cooking, Rodriguez added. As if to prove her point, the festival's main research kitchen announced that they had achieved stable fusion reactions through a particularly spicy curry. The universe, it seemed, had developed a taste for human-style diplomacy, and humanity, true to form, was